So kind of speaking of that, I guess, what for you as the coach, when you're evaluating, obviously it's going to be age dependent, but when you're evaluating a team, how did you go into the tryout process? Like you go to watch, I know you didn't necessarily have
Yeah,
tryouts
I
all
was
the
gonna
time,
say that.
but if you're going into a tryout situation, let's say you have your core group of guys, do you boil it down as a coach to, okay, I'm looking for these three. If okay, let's say for example you have a 12-year-old team. So it's not a junior team. We're not spending a ton of time scouting and all this. So I have tryouts. I got 3 days or 5 days to evaluate new kids. Do you boil it down to, okay, I'm looking for these three qualities in my forwards, or these three qualities in my defensemen, these three qualities in a goalie, and if they hit these three, then I'm taking them to the next day? Or like how do you almost, or do you not? But I'm assuming there's some kind of system of thought that you would bring to the tryout to try to narrow the group if you have a bigger group, or no?
Probably be different ways because if you have, I mean, your top guys are typically your top guys, typically, right? So that doesn't change a whole lot, right? You know what I mean? So you're not really looking for like, I mean, if you can get an unreal goal scorer, of course you're going to take that person. So that would kind of trump everything, right? If you have a team that is high goal, like a ton of goal scorer, maybe you want to add to that. So like it's just it depends. What my thing would be is, again, that I would want to give everybody a chance to show their stuff. So that's why I would play games. Um, and I would want to see someone that would make my team just be an extremely hard worker. Now, what does that mean? That means that because if someone's going to work hard, there's possibilities that they can be a very good player, right? Possible. It might mean he just works hard. But what I want to see is, because in tryouts, like a lot of times people just try to score goals and make it all about them, which is kind of what you want to do. But an intelligent person, someone intelligently looking at a player, they're going to look at different habits. So if I get a defenseman that is, like is going to fit in that bottom two, maybe to fit in the bottom two that I would be accepting to maybe change, then I don't necessarily need that kid to skate up the ice through five people and score. What I want to see him do is have as best that they can at that age, skate well, and have good gaps, have good sticks. But I guess it's not even that. It's more like the compete. When he goes into the corners and stuff, he comes out with the puck. He makes a play. He gets up the ice. He comes back hard. He maybe has a decent shot. Like we're talking 12 at this point, right? So we're looking at things that, maybe there's things that I can work with. And if I'm looking at a forward, a little bit easier to that, maybe it's a little bit easier to evaluate because you can back check. You can see a kid back checking real hard, shift after shift after shift. Like that's a quality that any team can use. And if I have a kid that's doing something like that, that's going to get my attention. That's going to get my attention. If you like really, and then he gets in the battles, like he's not afraid to get in the corners and work and make a pass instead of trying to go through people, like the very simple things. So like a lot of times a kid that'll make your team is not because he's the greatest player. I mean, those kids are probably already on the team. You're looking at things that you can say, okay, that's going to help my team, right? Especially if he's putting the effort in harder than the guys that are in that bottom core of your team. Then you can say that's a replaceable person, or I can replace him with this person because the effort's there on the things that actually matter.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
for sure.
So that's the way I would look at it.
So
So to say like there's three things that I want from a kid, one would be like the effort level, like the battles, winning of those things would
compete,
be one.
whatever.
The compete, and then obviously if he has that, but he's like I don't want to say that word, but if he's not a good team guy, then that would be something that would detract from me. But if he's a good kid too, and he shows a desire, and he's willing to work, and he's got a base skill level, or maybe even not, I know I can maybe get something out of that thing. That's something that I would do that would really pique my interest.
Yeah, I think for that, like if I said the same kind of three things, I guess would be like that compete piece, the attitude, like with your teammates and all that, and then the baseline skill set. Like hopefully you are a decent skater and these kinds of things. Um, I was talking to a kid that's interested in coming to the 2010 AAA team with the academy next year, and he's an international kid. And I was saying to the parents when I was meeting with them yesterday, I've never seen the kid play, so I was like, send me some video so I can see if the kid can play. And I've had other people talk and say that the kid's pretty good and whatever, but I've never seen him. So I said, send me some video, and then we kind of kept talking, and then I was thinking about what we always say about video is I don't want your highlights. I don't.
Show me.
Yeah, I don't
Show
want your
me 10
highlights.
shifts.
Yeah, I said I was like so I ended up going back to talk about it because I wanted to make sure that was clear. I was just like, I don't need to see all his goals. I was like, I want to see just like full shifts, just raw footage of full shifts of just him. So if you can cut those and just send me a bunch of those, that's how I'll be able to tell. Because like you can pick 10 highlights out of anybody. Like you can pick a kid can go for a good rush 4 times a year and you got it on video and now you have a highlight reel, right? And that's not what we want. And I think people would do well to understand that if you have a coach that's knows anything about the game, that's what they're going to watch. They're not just going to watch the, oh wow, good hands on that play. Like that's part of it, but it's only one element of it. You know what I mean?
Funny because I've had that when I was doing a little bit of stuff, because video does help people. And when people ask me about how do they make their game better, are you not getting in scoring chances, this, that, the other thing. And that's what I do is I'll say, send me, you get me 5-10 clips of a game. And that's typically what I get is the highlights, or they go, well, he didn't score a lot this year. It's like, no, just send me highlights.
Yeah, I don't care. Yeah.
I don't want to, if I see you scoring a goal, then that negates the question, because you got to see why you're not scoring, or why you're not getting a puck, or why you're not getting passes. I can work with that, but a highlight video is not anything I can really help you with.
Yeah. So then where in the evaluation process, like how do you account for the age appropriate part of it? So if I'm picking a team of 10-year-olds, realistically, it's like who cares who's on the team to a degree, right? So it's like if everyone's gonna kind of be in the mix. You might have the one standout kid that's a way better skater right now, or can shoot or whatever. But the majority of the kids are all gonna be kind of just like have a lot of weaknesses, not very clear who's who, and or like how do you pick a 10-year-old team, right?
I've never had to.
What about like well, I guess when Charlie was a kid, there was 12 kids that came to tryouts.
Yeah, we had to cut one kid.
Yeah, so that's not hard. Yeah,
and he was on the team the year before.
Yeah, yeah,
and so it's
not like
fair,
you have 30 kids to pick from. Yeah,
but I mean, I think at that point you're looking at guys that can skate. Good skaters. Maybe they got some decent hands. They can shoot a puck a little bit, and then when they get into a game, if you're playing 5, like that's how I would do it. Is you have scrimmages, and that's how you reveal the players to me. So it's just a matter of, do they skate well? Can they pass? And a lot of 9-year-olds never pass, but can they pass a puck? Do they back check hard? Do they work hard? It's like same things, but you're going to be wrong sometimes for sure.
Yeah. So then as you get up to the higher levels now, how does the evaluation change for the older players? So obviously it's those things, but are you looking now more position specific? Are you looking more situation specific? Or
I wouldn't say position specific, because I don't believe that, as I've said millions of times, or maybe not a million, hundreds of times for sure, that a 10-year-old defenseman might be a centerman later, or should be a centerman now. So I would never look at that. I would look at, can you skate? Can you pass? Can you shoot? Can you compete? Right? And that would be my first things, because you can place players in different situations whenever you want. So that would be my number one thing. But as you're moving up, like if you've watched, I went to my nephew's game a couple weeks ago, and there, I think it might be what used to be called Pee Wee. It might be Major Adam. So like U10, U11, and it's not like, even if they make a pass, it's not great. It's off. It's poor
or by
decision.
accident.
Yeah, or by accident,
Yeah.
or it's like so individual based. So you picking a team on passing, if you're younger, you just get frustrated. But as you get to the Pee Wee level, or what do they call that now, U12? U12, the passing and the playmaking and the thinking becomes just a little bit more evident. Actually, quite a bit, but it becomes a little bit more evident. You start applying those principles. It's not about skating through everybody all the time. So like that vision and smarts actually comes into play a little bit at that age. And then as you get to the U14 or U15 down to I'm talking the hitting years, now it's the contact. So does the contact make a difference? Yes. So now you're actually looking at making plays and maybe a little bit of systems, or actually a lot, but there's a little bit more systematic. Can they think the game a little bit? And the passing and all the skill level like that should be better. But now you take the physical element in there. Can they handle that, or would they be good at that? And not even like making sure that they finish hits all the time. It's a matter of not backing down. So there's a little bit of bravery that comes in. I find that's the biggest separator in hockey is once you get into the body checking years, you'll see guys that you didn't notice before become pretty good players, and you'll see guys that were pretty good, maybe you don't even notice them anymore. So and those are the big years um, where you start seeing players emerge. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah. 100%.
And